Morning, everybody. Thanks for being here bright and early. We just had a great sunrise. Now we're going to have a great Folds of Honor Day. We're honored to have Dan Rooney here. He's going to be introduced in a few minutes. But we have a great little program here. We have the Greater Naples Fire Department. So I just want to give special shout out to AJ and Mike Meehan. They are sponsoring this flag raise and national anthem, and they were very instrumental in helping us get the process going to have this great flag installed a couple of years ago. So thanks for being here, and we're going to raise the flag. And now Kayla will sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rag leather bomb bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of the brave.
Kayla, you're awesome. 12 years old, unbelievable. Sal, thanks for taking the long ride down and bringing your daughter. We're honored. Thank you to the Greater Naples Fire Department. We'll see you for the ball drop at 2:30. Now I introduce Steve Barger.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Noonan Rooney is an Air Force fighter pilot and a force for good. He's the founder of Folds of Honor, an F-16 fighter pilot with 3 combat tours in Iraq and a PGA golf professional. He's a 2-time recipient of the Top Gun Award and has received many decorations, including the Distinguished Service Medal, the Air Force Commendation Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the Air Expeditionary Medal, and several other honors. He's also the founder of the Patriot Golf Club and the American Dunes Golf Club. And he's authored 2 books, A Patriot's Calling, Living Life Between Fear and Faith, and Fly Into the Wind, How to Harness Faith and Fearlessness on Your Ascent to Greatness. He's also been a motivational speaker for 2 U.S. Ryder Cup teams. It's my distinct honor to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney.
Good morning. I'll tell you what, and I'm going to tell you the story as opposed to a lot of facts today, but every time I walk into great places like this, it's just humble humbles my heart to think that 14 years ago I was sitting above my garage in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and God put Folds of Honor on my heart, and to see great patriots like you take that inspiration and change lives. And that's what we have done for the last 14 years. My wife and I, day one, wrote down our motto: honor the sacrifice, educate the legacy, and we have been unwavering in that fight, and that is providing scholarships to spouses and children who've had someone killed or disabled defending our freedoms. You're going to meet Ashlyn McCain after golf today and hear her heroic story and learn about her dad's ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. And I promise you, you'll never forget meeting young Ashlyn. 35,000 scholarships since we were sitting above the garage. That's a hard one to even say. $160 million out the door. And we're also really proud because everybody's donated here today. My wife always says you have to tell people this, so I listen to her. But 91 cents of every dollar raised goes directly to fund scholarship programs, and we're in the top 1% of performing nonprofits in this country. So know that when we ask you to give a dollar, because freedom isn't free, that dollar will go to educate our next class, which will start in August, which will almost be 9,000 spouses and kids that we'll send to schools all across this great country, about $45 million out the door, to put that in context. And events like today will go to directly benefit this class that'll start here in about 2.5 months going to school. So enough of the facts. I want to tell you the story. And I call them moments of synchronicity or chance with a purpose. I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe in blind luck. I don't believe in serendipity. I believe in providence and this concept of synchronicity, how God intentionally puts people and experiences in all of our paths. And they happen every day, right? And I think the great challenge in this frenetically paced world that we live in now is, are you paying attention? Are you watching for these signs of synchronicity, or you just blow them off? And even when you recognize these moments, the difference between passing it and having the courage or the faith to listen to what God's puts in your heart and do something with it. So my moment of synchronicity of Folds of Honor occurred after my second combat tour in Iraq. I came home, was actually on a commercial airliner, flying from Chicago O'Hare to Grand Rapids, Michigan, to my day job as a golf professional. And I got on this flight, and it was about 10 o'clock at night when we finally got on, and I glanced over, and there was a corporal in dress army green sitting in first class. And I didn't think much of it. Press on back to coach. About an hour and a half later, we touched down in Grand Rapids, Michigan. At this point, it's at midnight. And as we pull into the gate, the captain comes over the intercom and announces that we're carrying the remains of Corporal Brock Buckland on this flight, who had been killed in Iraq, and his identical twin brother, Corporal Brad Buckland, is in first class and has brought him the 7,000 miles home. Captain makes another request that everybody stay in their seats until Brock's remains are removed from the right cargo hold. And suffice it to say, I understand that freedom isn't free, right? I have seen combat death. I have smelled it. I take it with me every day. But I had never seen this side of war. And on that night, I watched the Buckland family on the darkest night of their lives. His brothers, his parents, his wife, and his 4-year-old son as Brock's American flag draped coffin inched down from the cargo ramp. And I couldn't help but reflect on my own family in that moment. I've got 5 daughters, and if the tide of war were to turn on me, right, I would never get to wake my kids up in the morning, right? Take them to school, have ice cream, celebrate Christmas, walk them down the aisle. The finality of the sacrifice that Brock had made for our country really sunk in. So as the ceremony finished itself up, I grab my backpack and I stand up, and despite the captain's request that night, half the airplane had left, right? Nowhere to go except that blanket of freedom we will all sleep under tonight, courtesy of Corporal Brock Buckland. The 1.1 million veterans who have paid the ultimate sacrifice, and you'll meet one of his daughters this afternoon, Ashlyn. in the less than 0.5% of this country that wake up every day willing to live out that scripture, John 15:13, no greater sacrifice than to lay down one's life for one's friends. And I knew in that moment of great disappointment, sitting on that airplane with half those people gone, that God had given me a mission. And we have this little saying in our house, go before you're ready, and that's exactly what we did. I called my wife, and we hosted a little golf tournament, not even remotely as big as this one here today. About a month later, we had 67 golfers show up at the Grand Haven Golf Club. We raised $8,500, but it was that day that, God gave me the greatest gift of my life, is He awakened me to this beautiful irony that when you gather to help others, you're the one that's being helped. Chris understands this, right? This light that is put on your heart. And that's really the spirit that brings us here today, is using our time and talents to have a positive impact on other people. And as I wrap up, it's the humble opinion of one, but I think that's going to be the accountability that we all have. None of us are getting out alive, right? But it's going to be, what did you do with the talent you were given, the time you were given to have a positive impact on those around you? And today we get to say, yes, we did. And I am so humbled and grateful that you're here with us, that you'll be part of this next class and continuing a great tradition of support. Can't wait to see the golf course. But more importantly, all of us today get to play a heroic round on behalf of the men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice and are living forever disabled because they believe in what this country stands for. So God bless everybody here. As always, God bless America, and thank you so much for allowing me to come in and be a part of this. Thank you so much.
Okay, I guess we can get to the carts and get out on the golf course.
My name is Ed Kelly. I am privileged to be the president of Treviso Bay Golf Club, especially on a day like today. Chris said I could have 2 minutes, so I thought, well, how much could I get in 2? Thank you, Chris. So I thought what I would do is just spend a couple of minutes telling you and our journey, how we got connected with the Folds of Honor, and how we have become what we are today, and this tremendous day that we are enjoying together. About 6 or 7 years ago, there was a small group of people in Naples that would do many fundraisers. They'd have 5 or 6 over the summer, where they'd invite people from different clubs. And a number of us were involved in that. And I would say that sometimes we only had 1 foursome, maybe sometimes we had 4 foursomes, but they just asked that you donate $20, and sometimes we had a raffle, sometimes we had lunch. But all in all, it was the spirit of that and those events and the patriotism that we all enjoyed. And many of us became hooked. And so that was about 6 or 7 years ago. And I don't want to try and name people's names because I know I will forget some of them, but just by a show of hands, who in the room participated in those events? So maybe a dozen or so. So that was the beginning of our journey with Folds of Honor. And then in 2017, a couple of us sat down with Ben DeArmond, our head golf professional, who most of you probably know him more than you know me. But Ben took it on, and I will tell you that, in my opinion, he caught Folds fever immediately. He was the driver behind that first event. He continues to be the driver today. And Ben, if you could step forward and be recognized. He does a great job on all events, but he's really taken this one to heart, and is the reason that we have grown to where we've grown today. The first event that we had was in 2018, and we had a total of 66 participants in 2018. Only about 35 or 40% were members here at Treviso Bay. The rest were part of that group that was from other clubs around the area. So more outside people than in, and then we still, with 66 people, were recognized by the Folds of Honor Foundation as a top 100 performer in the United States. So that was a phenomenal start to where we began. Subsequent to that, in 2019, we held another event. We went from 66 participants to 89. And the real shift there was that we went from 40% members of Treviso Bay to 70% and 30% outside participants. Then, unfortunately, we went through the last 2 years with our renovation and COVID, which in some cases it feels like it was a really long time ago, but then when you sit back and you think about, it wasn't so long ago that we were driving around one person to a cart. We couldn't have shotgun starts, and we couldn't eat together. So we've come a long way in the last 2 years, and allows us to celebrate together the way that we are today. After that, in the summer of 2021, Chris Sandell, our own Mr. Hole 11, approached me and he said, I would like to work with Ben to make this an even bigger and better event. And Chris hooked up with Steve Barger, and those two, along with Ben, championed the event for this year. And so all credit goes to them and their committees. I know Chris will thank the people that have helped him, but they've really led the charge and were our champions for this year. This year, I'm extremely proud to say that the participation is now 100% members, residents of Treviso Bay, and their guests and our sponsors. So thank you to all of you. So we have a couple of more speakers. I know everybody wants to wait and, can't wait to have Ben give the results and see who won. But I will tell you, if you've been moved today, if you feel the urge to make another donation, checks to the Folds of Honor will be accepted by Ben, Steve, or Chris from now through Memorial Day, a fitting day for us to remember, and that's when he will send the last batch of donations in to Folds of Honor. So again, I thank you all for your participation, your generosity, and making this event what it is today. Thank you.
Ashlyn is a 2019 graduate from Central Florida. She's been speaking for the Folds of Honor Foundation since 2018, representing her father, United States Army Sergeant First Class Jonathan B. McCain. So without further ado, I'm honored to welcome her up to speak to us today. Ashlyn McCain.
My name's Ashlyn McCain, and I'm here to tell you about my dad and about Folds of Honor. So my dad and my mom, they met when they were really young, and when they got married, they decided that they were going to have kids. And my dad was like, I don't care what gender it is as long as it's healthy. And then my older sister was born, and he was like, a boy would have been nice. And then came me. And he was like, that's okay, it's okay. I'm gonna teach both these girls how to hunt, how to fish, how to camp, and how to be great outdoorsmen. Well, outdoors women. And then my younger sister came along, and he was like, 3 girls, that's okay. I've got 3 hunters, 3 fishers. It'll be great. And then finally, There's my little brother. So he was spoiled. But that's okay, because each of us got to hunt and fish and camp with my dad, and he was a big outdoorsman. So when we were stationed up in Alaska when I turned 4 years old, what better place to be? We would hike, we would fish, and we would hunt. When I was 14, he took me on my first bear hunting trip. And that was probably one of my greatest memories. Well, maybe my second. He was deployed right after that, and he said, next time you'll get that bear. Now, I would like to start the story. I did get the first bear, but the grizzly beat me to the other bear. Unfortunately, there were a lot of tears shed, because that was my bear. But my dad said, when I get back from Afghanistan, we're going to get you a bear. He was deployed in 2011, and when he came back for R&R, he came back in September. Usually my dad would come home in December and we'd have Christmas together. But one of his really good buddies said, I can get you a fly-in moose hunt if you come home in September. And obviously, all of us kids were like, Dad, take it. We all grew up hunting. So when he came home and he went moose hunting, he brought home a huge moose. Now this is my favorite memory, because my dad, who always told us never to procrastinated until the very last day of R&R. And he said R&R is when they come home for 2 weeks during their deployment. And he said, well, we're going to process the meat all by ourselves. And I said, you leave for Afghanistan in like a day. He said, yeah, but we're going to do it. Well, all my siblings decided to have other things to do. So it was just me and my dad in the garage. And he was also a very creative man. He had a 10-pound grinder, and he was like, I don't need to pay the extra money for the electric one. I've got kids, and they have arms. So I was the kid, and I had the arm. And I sat out there till 3 a.m. grinding that moose meat. A lot of moose meat. But that was the last memory I have with him, and I wouldn't take it back for anything. I look back at it now, and I hated standing there and grinding it all the way down. And of course, when you got all the way to the bottom, you had to ungrind it all the way back up. And all I could think, is there a screw? Is there something I can just make this easier? No, I just had to keep grinding. And that's kind of how my life was after he was killed. Nobody leaves instructions when you lose your hero, your dad. All I knew is I had a legacy I had to protect, a promise I had to keep. But how to do that, I didn't know. And that promise was to get a higher education. I grew up in Alaska. Going to a college outside of Alaska was going to be very expensive. So my mom said, well, you have to move. We have to get you to a different high school so when you graduate, you'll be closer to a school that you want to go to. Because she didn't want us to get stuck. So we moved to Texas. And I didn't want to go there either. I wanted to be an actress, and I wanted to do a theater degree and an English degree. And unfortunately, the military at the time said, we don't cover that. So I had to cover that. And so I took the first school that gave me the biggest scholarship I could get. And I wasn't happy there either. And I didn't know where to go. All I knew is I had to fulfill this promise to my dad. And that's when Folds of Honor stepped in. And they said, we pay for tuition for schools. And I said, is it this specific school or any school? And they said, any school you want to go to. Just send over the paperwork and we'll help you out. That was something that I couldn't believe, that there were people out there that cared so much about my education and helping those that are left behind, that I was shocked. And I asked my mom, I said, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what to do. And so I took an internship with Disney down in Florida, and I transferred schools because that's where I found that I was the happiest. I graduated from UCF in 2019 alongside my older sister, who is also a scholarship recipient of Folds of Honor. My younger sister is currently in college at Santa Fe and training to be a zoo technician. My younger brother is graduating high school, and they are all scholarship recipients of Folds of Honor. But the one that I am most impressed by is my mom, who was out of school for the longest time, from high school to college. And somehow, she started after me, but graduated before me. I'm very impressed, and I'm very proud of her. But she was also a Folds of Honor recipient. And she wouldn't have been able to do that without Folds of Honor. We never knew that this was going to be the life for us on that November day in 2011 when he was killed. But from there, we've grown so much, and I'm so honored to be able to be here and share my story with all of you so that you can see where your donations go to and what they do. And with that, I want to share something that was really big in my dad's brigade. He was part of the Stryker Brigade, and they were called the Arctic Wolves. And they followed what is called the Law of the Jungle by Rudyard Kipling. The Jungle Book is also my dad's favorite book, so it's not a surprise that he would use this. Now this is the law of the jungle, as old and as true as the sky. And the wolf that shall keep it will prosper, but the wolf that shall break it must die. As the creeper that girdles the tree trunk, the law runneth forward and back. For the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. I'm sharing this with you because you're all part of that wolf pack. By donating, you become that wolf pack, and you strengthen the wolf, and then that wolf can also give back, which is why I'm here today. I can give back by helping Folds of Honor raise more money, and that is you guys. So I invite you to become that wolf pack and help Folds of Honor in any way you can, whether that be donation or spreading the word. Because it's donations and donors like you that help the children who are bound by their parents' commitments to pursue a higher education. You get to help them protect that legacy and do what Folds of Honor does best: honor the sacrifice and educate the legacy. Thank you.
Ashlyn, I just cannot thank you enough. I'm humbled to speak after you. God bless you and your family, and the legacy your dad left us all in you and your family is second to none. So thank you again. Another round of applause.